everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Linox, here to remind you again that this is the best season of your life. And again, you will ask, why is that? That's because you are showing up differently every single day. If you have been following my show, we talk about having a journey of self discovery, and we talk about the different things that you need to do because one of the questions someone asked was, how do I know I'm on this journey? How do I know what to expect, what to read into it? What changes should I expect of myself? What should I look for? And so we're going through those steps. The last week I talked about you need to pay attention. Pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to people's comments, people's ideas, their opinion, even your own comments. How do you address things? How do you deal with things, and so forth? Because what happens is that we have a tendency to follow tradition by default. We don't really put a lot of thought and intention into the way we live. So we live by default, just letting things, que sera, and just go with the flow. Well, that's not how you want to live, because the whole idea of a self-discovery is so that you can discover your true identity, not the identity that's been imposed upon you by society. By the time you were 5 years old, you were told what to do, whether it's by society, by your parents, by teachers, religious leaders. That's just the way it is. You just go through a thing where you are subject to rules and laws and regulations, and there's nothing wrong with that. They kind of guide you, but once you reach to a stage of adulthood, you need to know who you are. That's why sometimes you say, well, that rubs me the wrong way. That's just not me. Why? Because you are probably living a life of performance. And once you discover your true authentic self, everything changes. What happens is that you get to discover your own identity, your weakness, your strengths, your emotion. How do you channel your emotions, your values, your beliefs? Many of us have belief system and that we subscribe to, and you don't know why. So you have to question those. Are those my belief? Why do I believe what I believe? Does it make sense to me? Now, when you start asking these questions, um, you have to be sincere. You have to be honest with yourself. You can't say, well, just in case I'm going to believe this way. No, you have got to be honest with yourself, because that's the only way you will arrive at the truth. And it's your truth that sets you free, not my truth. That's why I don't tell you what to do. I'm just telling you that you have it within you to know the truth that will set you free. And when that comes, my friend, I'm telling you, what goes away is fear and doubt and unbelief. You free yourself of fear and doubt. You free yourself of that, and you position yourself to be able to make decisions. You increase in knowledge because you know who you are, and you're able to make decisions more effectively and approach situations with more confidence. You become more self-aware of who you are, and therefore even your relationships with people become very intentional. You're mindful of the things you say. When somebody asks me a question, I give myself the 1 to 3 minute second, I'm sorry, the 1 to 3 second rule. When somebody asks me a question, unless it's just something like oh, where did you leave, your phone or something, then you know what it is. But if somebody asks me a question which requires thought, I give it a second to three to do a quick process to make sure that I am not spewing out things that I heard from other people. And so that what I share, I don't have to remember it if someone asks me the same question a month from now, because it's part of my truth. And that's the whole idea of knowing who you are. And I'm going to just share things with you because, people ask questions like, what do you really mean by that? Excuse me. What do you really mean by that? And how do I know that I'm going through this? And so I saw this that somebody wrote, and I thought it was quite interesting because when I look at something, I try to get value out of it to share with you so that it'll help you. So somebody wrote, the title of their message was "Choose Your Hard," and they said, "Marriage is hard, divorce is hard. Choose your hard." They said, "Obesity is hard, being fit is hard. Choose your hard. Being in debt is hard. Being financially disciplined is hard. Choose your hard. Communication is hard. Not communicating is hard. Choose your hard." And then they said, "Life will never be easy. It will always be hard. But when we can choose our hard, pick wisely." Now, when I saw that, and it was on social media, when I saw that it had a whole bunch of share. When you post something and people like it and they repost it, it had like double digit. I don't know, over 60 shares, and of course it had over 100 likes. It had a lot of likes, but I just kind of, when I saw it, I paused for a second, and I started processing it in my own mind, and I realized that I did not agree with any of it. And not to be disagreeable, but I just question, how does that apply to me? Is that my truth? Because when people say life is hard, that depends on your perspective. How do you see it? What is your perception of different situations? And what is your overall perspective of life? Do you think it's hard? Because if you think life is hard, guess what? Life will be hard for you. Now, he started with, "Marriage is hard, divorce is hard." Well, I've had both. I've been divorced. I was married when I was in college, and I got divorced, and it was somewhat of an. As a matter of fact, I was separated for a while before I got divorced. I was separated, just separated because, again, it was in college, and it was one of those things. We got married, and then after we fell out of love per se, and we just split. And then years later, it was just a matter of administrative thing. I didn't even know where he was, and vice versa, and so the divorce happened, and it wasn't a big deal. So I can't say it was hard. Obviously, any kind of split or separation or whatever, there's some emotions involved, but you get over it, because that's one of the things that I train myself to do, to just, move on, get over it. Don't delay and go through all this thing about trauma and healing, because, of course, there was no trauma. And, my emotions, I learned to fix that as quickly as possible so that I can move on. So I've been divorced. So I cannot say divorce is hard. In some occasions, yeah, some situations, it can be a challenge. I don't use the word hard because, to me, it's too weighty. It's too strong a word for my makeup. So I would say it can be challenging, particularly if there are kids involved, and real estate and property and things of that nature. It can be a challenge, but it's not hard, because guess what? You get an attorney and you get it done. So it's not hard. You just have to find the resources, and that can help you navigate through that experience. Okay, so the other part was, marriage is hard. Now, I don't think of marriage as hard at all. I don't think of marriage as hard. Not if you're in love with the person, not if you're married for love. And in our case, I should say, that's the situation. We got married because we were in love and we wanted to share lives together. Now, you need to determine what your marriage means to you and what it means for you. Some people call themselves dynamic duo. Uh, Other people call themselves a power couple. And all of that is good, but it should not just be a title. You need to know what you mean by that. What do you mean by a dynamic duo? What do you mean by a power couple? What do you mean by that? My husband and I, we are simply a strong team. That's how we see ourselves. We are a team. And the way, in my mind, the way I see it is, you've got, think of the football, American football. There's a quarterback who is kind of, there's a quarterback and then there's a kicker. To me, they're both equally essential to the game. Now, you may say, well, the kicker just kicks the ball. Well, for you that are involved in American football, there was a game that happened, I believe it was this Sunday. There is the Buffalo Bills and there is the Kansas City Chiefs. At the end of the fourth quarter, which, the game is coming to a close, there were some seconds left. The Kansas City Chiefs, were at a score of 27 points. The Buffalo Bills were at a score of 24. When the kicker kicks a field goal and it goes through the not the net, but the poles, that's 3 points. So, and if 24 and 27. So when the Bills kicker kick the ball, if it goes through the poles, guess what? That's 3 points. They would have tied the game and gone on to continue the game to see who is going to take the win. So the kicker the kicker was at stake. The kicker, again, you've got Chiefs 27 points, Bills 24 points. And if the kick from the kicker is effective, is that if it goes through the poles, that would be 3 points, which would tie the game. The kicker kicked the ball and it missed. The ball missed. It hit the pole and it did not go through, the two adjoining poles. So they lost the game. So when I say my marriage, we are a team, there is the quarterback, who is my husband, and I am the kicker. And what happens, when you're in a team, everything you do is to benefit the team. You want to win the game. So you're going to do things, even though sometimes you may not even feel like it, but you're going to do things to benefit the team. It's the team. You want the team to win. Do you know how you feel when, if it's soccer and Messi is your man, you're going to go for that team and you want to see Messi win. Messi, for those of you that may not follow soccer, he's one of the greatest of all. He's a GOAT, greatest of all, you know, in soccer. And in football, there's some great quarterbacks and so forth. And, we have our team. And when our team wins, we get so excited and so forth. Okay, so in my marriage, I don't see, so when we have a situation, the quarterback, my husband, he comes on the scene and he is solution. And, he's just very proactive in everything. He is proactive. He doesn't wait for stuff to go bad or break or whatever. No, he is proactive. And then, but if it's a situation that comes upon us, then I am the kicker. I arrive at the scene and I am calm. But guess what? I'm confident that when I kick the ball, that it's going to score. that's the confidence that I bring, that when I kick. So, we dialogue, the quarterback, my husband, and you know why we do this? We do it simply because we are using the strength of each one of us. We use his strength, we use my strength, and we don't assign, like, we don't have gender assignment, like, because you're the man, you take out the trash, or because you're the man, you do. No, no, no. There's certain things that he does, and that's fine. But we don't confine ourselves to rules and social rules that the man does this and the man does that and so forth. No, 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 no. We take advantage of the each other's strengths, and that's why, as a team, the quarterback does what he does and the kicker does what he does. And if the quarterback does what he needs to do and the kicker does what he needs to do, guess what? There is a win. The Kansas City Chiefs, they won. They won. So that's how we see ourselves, as a strong team. So I don't see, and sometimes my husband would ask me to do something, and you know what? It's like, just let me chill for a second. And sometimes he's like, oh, and vice versa. In my mind, however, if it's something that's going to benefit the team, I move on it. And that's how I think. If it's going to benefit the team, I'm going to move on it. Because why? I want the team to win. I want my team to win. And in order for my team to win, the quarterback needs to be doing what they need to do, and the kicker needs to do what they need to do. And that's how so life for us, or marriage for us, is not hard. You need to identify what it means to you. If you say you are a dynamic duo, what does that mean to you? Not to anyone else, to you. If you say you are a power couple, is that just a title? Or is that what? What does that mean? It has to make sense to you so that you can be intentional. We call ourselves a strong team, and the bottom line is, the focus is, we always want to win. We always want to win for the team, and that's the whole idea. So when this person says marriage is hard, that's, a lot of people are like, they're like checking, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, is it really? Is it really hard, or just challenges that you go through? The point is, the Buffalo Bills, the kicker, you see, he kicked and he missed. So they lost the game. But in our game, we, when I kick, is because I'm sure it's going to go through. Now, if it doesn't, in other words, if I come up with some sort of solution or recommendation or opinion or something, if it doesn't work, then we just start all over again and do what we need to do. But the whole thought that I come up, when we bring the quarterback and the kicker together, is that we are going to have the solution that we need for whatever issue it is, whatever issue situations. Again, we don't even call things a problem, because we are always looking to solve a solution. So this about marriage is hard, divorce is hard, choose your hard. It's not something, but if you see it, you may not give that thought. So I'm sharing with you, these are things in life, and you will have your own thing that you need to give some thought, so that you can say, wait a minute, that's not me, and then come up with your own identity. So the next one is, obesity is hard, being fit is hard. Now, is it hard? Now, obesity, that's not something that I experience. So and I know that there are health issues that people deal with and so forth. And, I will not challenge that, because that has never been my experience. But is it really hard? Is it hard? Being obese may be hard, but what are your options? You have options. Change your eating habits, change your customs, change your choices. And as far as fitness, going to the gym is not the easiest thing I would want to do. But going and walk for 4 miles, I love it. Walking for 4 miles, 10,000 steps is something that I could do every single day. But I just 5 days a week. And then, I kind of chill out for 2 days. But we have choices. We have choices. So is obesity really hard? What do they mean by obesity is hard? Being obese, is it hard? It may be a challenge to move around, and then you have pains in your ankles and your knees, your hips, and so forth because they have to carry your body. So is it really hard, or is it being obese, is that hard, or losing weight? Because in most cases, if you modify your eating habits, that'll reduce your weight. So is it really hard? Is it really hard? So again, obesity is hard, being fit is hard. Choose your hard. That's a social thing. That's a social construct. That's a mindset that people have. And if you are not careful, you will listen. That's why I said you have to listen to people's comment, listen to what they say, listen to what people, what their opinions, their thoughts, their views, and see if they align with yours. And if it doesn't, then you can refute that. You're like, no, 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 no. You've got your own. That's why, again, you're becoming aware of your own identity, your strength, your weakness, your views, your ideas, all of that, your emotions. You are becoming aware and understanding your habits, your thoughts, your feeling. You are coming into the knowledge of who you are. So the next one is being in debt is hard. Being financially disciplined is hard. Choose your hard. Now, I've shared before that I've been in debt. It's a mess. Again, that was before I met my husband. My husband is so financially disciplined in that regard, so that he doesn't have that experience at all. But before I met my husband, I was in a financial mess. And it happened over and over and over. Well, I mean, it happened about 2 times. One time I, racked up a big debt and so forth. And then the second time I did. And, I just, because, growing up, I shared before, my dad was a good provider, and he provided everything we wanted. So when I became an adult, I just thought, well, I should have everything that I want. And I just, if I didn't have the cash, I would put it on a credit card and so forth. And, I didn't have any concept. I may have, the point is, I was a mess. And it's not until, I got married and I saw my husband was like a perfect example. And, I copied that from him and, um, and disciplined myself financially so that you would have the peace of mind and the relaxation of not having people calling you that you owe money and so forth. And in this case, I'm one that I don't like to pay interest charge. So when I buy something on a credit card, I like to make sure that I have the cash to pay for it when the statement arrives. And I don't feel deprived from things. I don't feel deprived. No, it's just that I may have to wait a month, and that's fine. And in most cases, I get what I want when I want it, and that happens because of discipline. So, is it hard? When I was, what talk about being in debt is hard. Um, I remember I went to buy a car, and that feeling when you're in the car dealership and you're sitting there, you know your credit is like in the in like the 500s, 400, whatever, and you know that even if you get a car, the interest rate is going to be like high, and but all you want is a car. So it was a challenge. It was demoralizing. It just felt awful. And when I met my husband, I remember I was in need of a car, and we went to a dealership, and he was going to buy the car in his name. This is before we got married and so forth. And we went there, and he just sat there. He sat there like so confident. Why? Because he had buying power. He was, I've never experienced that. He just sat there and he said to the salesperson, he said, we don't have time for you to go back and forth, back and forth. This is what we're paying, and this is the interest that we would like in that range, whatever. And the guy just obliged. I thought, oh, so that's how it works. It was really amazing. And we walked out with the car, and it was just crazy. I thought, gosh, this feels good. So even though being in that wasn't hard, it was just challenging and demoralizing, and it just didn't feel good to not have a car, not have the credit to take yourself through that journey and so forth. But it wasn't hard, it was just challenging. And if I walked out with a car, again, this is before I met my husband, uh, I remember one time they sold me a lemon, and I was paying like sky high. And anyway, it was just a mess. But when I met my husband, I kind of watched the way he ran his finances, and how he sat in this car dealership, and he just sat confidently. I thought, wow, that's just great. I've never experienced that before. And so we walked out with the car on his terms. And that felt better. So was it hard? No. I just had to really learn, rewire my thinking as to how to approach life debt free and so forth. So being in debt, is it hard? It's a big challenge. It can be demoralizing. There's shame, there's blame, there's judgment. You can't look people in the eye. Why? Because you don't have the confidence to say, well, this is what I'm going to pay. And now it's interesting because now when we go to get a car for me, we can, or you could put it in either one of us name, because whatever, we just sit there and we tell them the terms. And that's been since we've been married. We buy a car because I get a new car every 2 or 3 years, whatever, and we go in and we set our own terms. So is it hard? No, it's not hard. It's challenging, it's demoralizing, and if you don't like those emotions, again, you're getting to know yourself. And if you recognize shame and blame and judgment, and you just feel awful because you feel so at their mercy, and that's just no way to feel. So I don't say being in debt is hard. You just have to figure things out. If my husband hadn't come along, I would have to figure it out because I just didn't like that feeling. But anyway, he came along, and he's not someone that would, he's like, if we're going to use this car, we're going to, yeah, whatever. We're going to pay it off when it comes. And then the last one, they said, communication is hard. Not communicating is hard. Now, is it communicate? Communication is hard. And all that has to do with knowing who you are. Because when you know who you are and you show up in your true, authentic self, you are confident. First of all, you know what you need to communicate, and you have the confidence to communicate. But you have to know what, the emotions that are involved, the ideas, the thoughts. You have to know all that's involved and the truth of what you're going to be sharing. I talk a lot about truth because when you speak the truth, you don't have to remember what you said. Why? Because it comes from you. It comes from your inner being, your intuition, your essence. It's who you are. It's not something you say to just give a response to something. And that's why I say there's a 3-second rule. When somebody asks you a question, if it's something of, something profound or something of depth, take a second or two before you give an answer. And even if you have to say, well, let me think about that, then you do that. You think about it and then you give a response. Don't be too hasty to give a response, because you may just say something that, again, by default is what how everybody thinks. And that's not what you want. You want to know who you are. So communication is not hard if you know who you are, and if once you're walking in your true authentic self. It's not hard. When something is wrong, or not even wrong, when something is not right, when things are not aligned in my personal life, I would say to my husband, let's talk about this. And it's not something that I let, of course, I wait for the right time. That's important because you want to get someone's full attention. I wait for the right time and I say, and vice versa. Oh, he doesn't wait for the right time. He just, he would just say, well, what about this and so forth. He likes to take care of business like right away. So we're a little different that way. I like, and of course, us women, we dissect everything, and we add a meaning to everything. So we need time, and we need your undivided attention. Not that you're thinking that you need to go and put gas in the car or whatever. No, no, no. I need your undivided attention. And so, I usually wait for the right time. But communication is not hard. If I have something to say to someone, one time I was out with some friends, and I remember when I was kind of going through this journey of self-discovery, and I was realizing things that I didn't like, and there were some friends from church, and we were I had already left church. I was no longer going to church, and so I was really growing in personal development and understanding my truth, my belief, questioning things, and so forth. And um, we were having dinner at a restaurant, and we were talking, and they said something, and then they asked me, and I contributed. And this one of my friends, she laughed, and she was angry that I thought the way I did. And it was a little unpleasant for me, but so I let it ride. The moment I got home that night, I sent a text. I said, hey, are you free tomorrow? Let's have coffee. Let's have, at La Madeleine. So she said, oh, yeah, whatever. So we got there the next day, just her and I. And, we had a salad, we had a glass of wine, and we chat. And I said, you know what? I need to address yesterday and what happened. And I explained to her that is just not going to work. I said, respect is something that is on the top of my list. And even though you may not understand the changes that I'm going through, they are my changes and they're real to me. And if you ask me for my opinion, that's what I'm going to give you, even if it differs from everyone else. And it was such a beautiful chat because, we like each other. Besides, we love each other. And they realize how that behavior didn't work for me, and how they really have to exercise not just patience but wisdom in understanding, wait a minute. And now, of course, that was years ago, and now, of course, we have such a great relationship and so forth. But yeah, I schedule a lunch, dinner, whatever, and I said, let's discuss this because, well, I just said, I need to share some things with you. And so that was easy for me. And I was just really getting started in my whole journey of self-discovery. I was just getting, but I knew that it rubbed me the wrong way. And I knew that my whole being could not accept that kind of criticism, judgment, and that would not work. And that's why communication is not hard, because when you know who you are, you can address things confidently because you're self-aware, and then it betters your relationship with people because they know where you're coming from, and then they have to respect it, if they add value to the relationship. So communication is not hard. It is not hard once you know who you are. Now, if you don't know who you are, and if you're concerned about people if you're concerned about people liking you or what would people think, what would people say, then of course it's going to be hard because you're thinking of how to perform to please them. Well, I'm beyond that. I don't, whatever. People are always going to talk about you. They're always going to have something to say. They're always going to judge you. They're always going to condemn you. And once that's clear in your mind, then you just navigate through life being who you are. And that's where the freedom is, and the joy and the peace and so forth. And because that's your truth. That's your truth. So when this person says life will never be easy, perhaps I wouldn't use the word easy, but I wouldn't use the word hard either. It will always be hard. That's what it says here. That's what they wrote. Life will never be easy. It will always be hard, but we can choose our hard. And I guess this last part, we can choose our hard, almost is there to mitigate the the choice that we have. It says pick wisely. Well, I don't agree with any of it. I have my own thoughts. And you see, that is how you can start developing and start thinking, start living intentionally because you're listening, you're paying attention. You're paying attention to what people are saying, their comments, and you just, the things that you read, because it's in the book doesn't mean it's a fact. Because it's in the book doesn't mean that it's true. And you have to come to terms with that. Does it work for me? If it doesn't work for you, then that is not your truth. It has to work. Everything that you do around you, your whole social dynamics has to work. And if it doesn't work, it's not your truth. So these are things that I pay attention to every day. The things I read, the things I hear when I talk with someone. I remember my friend said something about she was going through this change and looking so fine and so forth, and she said, I need to get a new wardrobe. And I'm like, wow, that's great. And she says, I need to get a new wardrobe. She says, age appropriate. Age appropriate. Imagine that. A new wardrobe. I'm like age appropriate. Like what the hell is that? What is an age appropriate wardrobe? Now, social construct will tell you that, after a certain age, you dress frumpy, you dress this way, that way, so forth. And so we oblige by that. And this person is, she's a little mamacita. She's petite, excuse me, nice and slim, and she just got a nice little mohawk haircut. Just gorgeous woman. She can wear just about anything. Everything fits. And so when I said that, she said, I knew you were going to say that. I said, well, yeah, Jen, because that doesn't, like, what do you mean? Wear what you like. If it looks good on you, if you like the way you look, then that's what you wear. That's what you buy. Don't be guided by social construct. People, you know, expect you to dress this way and so forth. At all. Don't. You see? So those little things, and she's like, oh yeah, le cayó la peseta. She got it. She got it. So those are the things that you need to pay attention to, and you need to really guard yourself. Uh, Another thing that I saw. Here's another thing. When it comes to your health, you have to be really fierce. You have to do what it takes to take care of yourself, and read up and learn things. And if you have symptoms, read about it so that when you go to your doctor, you have the right questions to ask. So this person post, and it was really interesting because I felt so. Anyway, this person posts, my knee hurt. Please pray for me. I can hardly walk without pain. That's it. And that's what they post. So her her line of friends started to respond. She said, "Please pray for me." That's all she said. She didn't say, "What do you think it is? What could it be?" She didn't say any of that. It was a statement, it wasn't a question. "My knee hurt. Please pray for me. I can hardly walk without pain." Okay. Comment number one said, that's perennial nerve damage. Okay. That's perennial now I don't assume that this person is a doctor, but they said that's perennial nerve damage. Comment number two was, maybe it's a meniscus tear. A meniscus tear. Now she's got two things to be concerned about or to worry about: perennial nerve damage as a possibility and a meniscus tear. The next person wrote, "You may need a knee replacement." Imagine that. Perennial nerve damage, a meniscus tear, and now you need a knee replacement. Listen to these words, my friend. Another person said, "Oh, it's bursitis." I mean, it's bursitis. And then another person said, "Two bones, bone to bone, rubbing together." Bone to bone rubbing. In other words, there's no more cartilage in the middle. There's no more of that substance, that jelly substance that gives you that flex. It says bone to bone. Another person says, "You have a pinched nerve." Imagine that. All they asked for was for them to pray. But look at all these diagnoses. Another person said, "It's a pull muscle." Another person said, "It's synovial cyst." It's a synovial cyst. I don't know what that is. And another person said, "You need arthroscopic surgery." I wrote all these things down because, see, when I see things like that, it really helps me as well. And it will help you to start thinking. All this person asked for, she said, "My knee hurt. Please pray for me. I can hardly walk without pain." And then she winds up with perennial nerve damage, a meniscus tear. She needs knee replacement, bursitis, bone to bone rubbing together, no more cartilage. You have a pinched nerve, pull muscle, synovial cyst, and needing arthroscopic surgery. And then the last person said, well, I just stopped at 10. She said, "Let's pray it's arthritis." My friend, why would you pray? Why would you pray that it's arthritis? Now, I'm sure they're thinking, "I hope you don't need surgery. I hope it's not a synovial cyst or a pinched nerve or bursitis, or that you need a knee replacement or meniscus tear or perennial nerve damage. Let's just pray it's just arthritis." Have you ever seen people with arthritis? It's hard to walk. Why would you pray for that? What? See, that's you have to exercise critical thinking skills for your own life. And first of all, I wouldn't put that out there. I shared a while back, sometime last August or whatever. I woke up in the middle of the night and I need to use the bathroom, and I stepped and there was this pain in my heel, in my right heel, and I didn't give it any life, but it continued, life of its own. And so when I had my physical, I mentioned it to my doctor. I said, "Well, on the scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 2 or 3." And she said, "Well, if it continues, come back, we'll do an x-ray. It could be plantar fasciitis." That is a doctor. That's my doctor. So it continued and it got a little progressively, worse. Not worse, but just persistent. Not worse, persistent, because on the scale of 1 to 10, it really was like a 2 or 3, but I like, why wait till it get to 4 or 5? So I schedule an appointment with a podiatrist. That's it. I mentioned it to my husband. It wasn't a big deal. I didn't, so I went and they took x-rays at every angle of my knee, not my knee, the heel of my foot. And he said, "There is nothing wrong with your foot. It's plantar fasciitis. Now, and then he said he gave me a he said you do these exercise and then he gave me some ibuprofen and prescribed ibuprofen, which I didn't need to take because I really wasn't in any kind of severe pain. And he said, and if it continues, then you come back. And it was and then he said, and this should be gone in 2 weeks. I took his word when he said there is nothing wrong with your uh, foot. I thought, wow, that's all I needed to hear from a specialist, from a person that should know. But before I went to him, I did read up of the possibilities of what could be and so forth. And when he said it should be gone in 2 weeks, I took him at his word. I created a mindset that my my heel is healed and it's well and I can walk well. And ever since, I have not had the pain. Again, my friend, that's just me. That's what works for me. And that's what you should do for yourself when it comes to your health. That's a personal thing. This all this. Can you imagine? And when somebody tells you that, don't. If somebody tells you I have this pain, don't try to outdo them. Oh, I had this and I had to go. No, no, no. Just listen to what they're saying. And if they're asking for prayer, if you're a person of prayer, then pray. That's all she asked for. And she wound up with perennial nerve damage, a meniscus tear, knee replacement, bursitis, bone to bone, rubbing, pinched nerve, pull muscle, synovial cyst, all of that. Do you see how this works? That's why you have to pay attention. You have to be intentional. And you have to know who you are and how life applies to you. Life is not hard. We make it hard because we don't think and we are functioning in the identity that's been imposed upon us and following tradition, social construct, and conventional norm, religious teachings, and all that. And if it doesn't apply to you, my friend, then it's not your truth because your truth is the truth that's going to set you free. Only your truth, not my truth, not someone else's truth, not social construct, because society have a way of dealing with life that if you follow it by default, you will wind up with all of that. Now, I don't know which one of these she chose. Let's pray it's arthritis. Why would you want that? Why would you want that? No, you want the pain to be gone. You want to find out what it is, what's causing it, and do whatever you need to do. And in most cases, it's inflammation. I know for me, you know, uh, in my heel, it was inflammation. So I'm thinking, well, what can I do to reduce, to mitigate that inflammatory symptom of inflammation and so forth. And I went and read and so forth, and I had to change some things in my eating habits and so forth, and it's been fine. I wear my 6-inch heel and everything. So my friend, I'm sharing this with you. This is another segment, another portion of a journey of self-discovery, what to look for, what to think about, what to consider, listen to people and analyze everything. Kick up your critical thinking skills and your emotional intelligence. Understand it, put it to work for you. It's all about you. It's not about anyone else. It is about you. It is about you because you want to have a life, a season, that where you're thriving and flourishing and having fun and not being burdened by problems and all the things that we can create. There's no problem. There are situations, there are issues. That's how I see it. It's a mindset that you create. There are issues that has to be resolved. There are situations in life that, come upon us that we have to take care of. And that's it. Situations, issues, It's a problem if you make it a problem. So decide what works for you. We went through choose your hard, life is hard. I say life is not hard, depending on your perspective. And you have a right to determine what it is to you, whether it's your life at work, whether it's your life at home, and you start navigating that way and just make it to what works for you. And once you become conscious of that, once you become consciously aware of that, you will see how your habits, your behaviors, all of your thoughts, your thinking will change. And yeah, you'll have some issues. You'll have some pushback from people because you become a little more independent. You become independent. You'll become an independent thinker. And people don't like that. People like they'll say, well, go with the flow. That's not you, my friend. You don't go with the flow because you create your own flow. And with that, my friend, I'm going to remind you that every Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, we have a date right here next today. And if you cannot meet me here at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, you can always find us 24/7 on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and so that we can, you can tune in and hear what I've had to share. So it's to know who you are. That is the epicenter of everything that you do, because when you know who you are, then you think differently and you function differently. So with that, I'm going to say au revoir. I'm going to say ta-ta. I'm going to say I'll see you next week. And have a fantastic weekend. And just be good to yourself. Be good to yourself and acknowledge that this is the best season of your life. And you know why? And that's because of all the things that you're learning. That's because you're learning to unpack yourself, to discover all that's already within you. So, with that, ciao, amigos. Próxima. I will see you next week. Bye bye. Ta ta.